Hey guys, build report for the Dirtbaby. This is Madbean Dirtbaby. If you want the project, I want a PCB, go to madbeanpedals.com and buy one from him. He sent it in for a review. It's a great delay pedal. It's probably the best PT2399 delay pedal I've built so far. I will give you his description of the project because he's got it here and he's summarised it nicely in his own words. So this is what he says. The Dirtbaby is a PT2399 bass delay modelled after the Deluxe Memory Man. It is an attempt to redesign the Deluxe Memory Man without the use of the stock, out of production, and expensive MN3005/MN3008 BBDs. They're not out of production anymore. There's a company that are making the MN3005s. I mean, they're out of production as far as Panasonic goes, but X5 has picked up the baton and they're making MN3005 knockoffs, which sound 99% exactly the same as an MN3005 that Panasonic used to make. So they are sort of in production now. But this was obviously made. Brian obviously wrote this, ages ago. So at the time they weren't. This is all new, the MN3005 thing, the remanufacturing of it. So what else does he say? He says, while I will not claim the Dirtbaby sounds just like the Deluxe Memory Man, it is at least a genuine alternative to the standard PT2399 type delays out there and does manage to cop some of the feel of the Deluxe Memory Man. And I'd go as far as saying, if you're a competent builder and you want to build a delay that uses a PT2399, I'd recommend this one. I haven't done every PT2399 delay out there. I've done a few. This one's the best so far, and it's got a lot of options, as we can see by the controls, which I'll read out for you now. A level control, a feedback control, delay, blend, rate, depth, a CV switch, which is chorus vibrato, and T1, which is a trimmer on the inside that you can adjust, which I'll show in the sound demo. That's a sound demo sort of thing. I might just show you a quick demo of what that actual trimmer does and where to set it. So he also had a tails mod for it, so it was going to have tails, but it didn't happen. He had all sorts of technical issues, so there's no tails. But that doesn't bother me so much. Tails are great, but I don't know. They're quite tricky to get right, I reckon. So no big loss, I don't think. So let's take a look at the pedal physically now. The cosmetics and a few comments on the inside of how I built it. I should say my throat's a bit croaky as well. My voice is a bit croaky. I've been at a kids' party and by golly, they sure know how to party. I've just been yelling all day trying to talk to friends and stuff over the racket, and I've kind of lost my voice a little bit. So this is the front. I've called it ice delay. I call it ice delay because there's a very, very complicated technical issue. Why? It's because when it comes to drawing, I can almost do an ice shard that actually looks like an ice shard. So I thought that was probably the best reason to do it. So that's why I call it ice delay. Absolutely no other reason whatsoever. Because I can draw an ice shard, and I've actually drawn that with Posca. As you've seen, I'm getting into Posca. I'll actually show you how many Posca pens I've got at the moment. There's a few of them, not a heap of them. I've actually got a couple of new ones the other day, silver and gold. I thought it might come in handy. White, different sizes. I've got a couple of whites. Don't use the black. I've actually got two black. Oh no, hang on, that's the silver. I've only got one black. Yeah, don't use the black. It flakes off for some reason. I'll show you that in the Grind Customs Feng Drive build report. Yeah, it flakes off. I still don't understand quite why it does that, but the others don't flake off. Yeah, don't touch the black. Anyway, back to the pedal. So I've done the usual black for level knob and the rest silver. Kind of my trademark in a sort of roundabout way. I think maybe ZVEX did it once and I thought it was pretty cool, and I've done it ever since. I left the washer off this one, so the nut off this one, as you can see, because I didn't think it was really necessary. They kind of look ugly as well. I don't really like them on the switches, and if you can get away with not having one on the switch, then I reckon leave it off. Doesn't need it. I mean, it's PCB mounted. You know, it's got it's stuck down. It's not like it's wiggling around or anything. You know, like I can push it and I can barely do anything. Obviously, as I say, I can push it. If you have a bit of space, it's got a little bit of space in it, and you do push it hard, you will crack the solder. I mean, solder's not meant to be structural. It's meant to be sort of more conductive. So that's why you need to put nuts on everything. I'm not fussed. This is for me anyway. I'm not selling it or anything. So I'm not fussed. So that's pretty much it on the outside. Probably one of the better epoxy jobs I've done. As you can see, looks nice and luscious. Look at that gloss. This is why I persist with it, because when you get it right, it looks really good. The sides a little bit drippy, but they always are. Not too bad. Not as bad as a Feng drive, which is drippy as it's dripping everywhere. That's on a bit thick. You can see it kind of dripped a bit there, but it's not too bad. And I also tried to whoa, there goes the pedal. Also tried to correct. I'll get my other arm around the camera here so I can grab it. I also tried to correct this bubbleness by seeing if I could trim it. Don't bother, you just rip it. It's no good. Don't do it. You can trim it underneath here, so you can trim it this way so that the lid will fit. That's fine. You just follow the enclosure with a razor and cut it off, and that works. But don't go this way. It just doesn't work, as you'd probably expect. Miniature DC jack on the top. Those Lumberg jacks, which I'm using pretty much exclusively now because I love them. They're really good. They're tiny. Everything's pot mounted. I did have one issue with the pedal, actually. The level was, one of the lugs on the level was grounding out. I can't remember what it was grounding out on. It could have been the pot below it. I can't remember exactly. But I've actually had that problem with the Feng drive as well. It happened 2 times in a row. I couldn't believe it. The same problem twice. Yeah, I just fixed that. I've got a fault diagnosing video on that. If you want to see it, goes into detail on exactly what happened and how to fix it. That was the only problem. Everything else was fine. I got all the I got all the components correct first go. I didn't stuff any of those up. And you want to be really careful when you do something that's relatively complicated like this. You got to make sure that you just create a needle in a haystack situation if you don't measure the resistors before you put them in. So I guess you could call it kind of like a saying: measure once, solder once, as opposed to solder twice, or something like that. Because if you don't measure them as you're putting them in, you can make a mistake. You might have put a resistor in the wrong bag or something like that. When I actually assemble when I assemble a pedal, I get the resistor, I measure it on my multimeter, I get it, fold it, put it in, solder it. That's how I do it, because I want to make sure that resistor is what it is and not something else. So I do that before I put it in. I measure it. So this wiring is pretty good. This is Madbean's. I guess it's his new sort of standard way of doing wiring, and it works really well. You can still test it, even though it looks kind of proprietary. You can still test it before you box it up. I don't remember how I did it, but it was actually very simple to do. It wasn't complicated at all, as well, which makes it good in that respect. But I can't remember. You have to look on the forums if you want to see. Ask about that, or if you want to find out more information about it. Sorry, it's been a really long day. My mind is elsewhere. Like I said, those kids know how to party. They had a jumping castle there, and yeah, it was crazy. It was like Lord of the Flies all over again. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for this build. No real height considerations apart from that, which you may have seen. You may have noticed that the regulator's bent down like that. I can't remember if I did that because I wasn't supposed to cut the tab off, or because I just thought, let's just bend it down so I don't have to cut the tab off. Because I know I'm fairly certain some tabs you can't cut off, but I can't remember if they're regulators or something else. So you might as well just keep it on there and just bend it down so you don't have to cut it off. Either that, or I just copied somebody else, saw another person build it and thought, hey, how'd they do that? And maybe they just bent that down like that as well. But either way, it works fine. So if you're building one, just bend it down like that and you'll be fine as well. So that's pretty much it for the build report. Quick one, quick and easy. We'll go into the sound demo. It does a lot of things with all these settings. So could be a long sound demo. I'll do a quick demonstration of the trim pot probably. Actually, you know what? I probably won't, because that trim pot's basically a set and forget. And Madbean explains how to set that anyway. So there's not really much point doing that. It's not like something that you'd like a pot on the front of the pedal for. You just wouldn't do it. It's a set. You just set it up and then you're done. So there's not really much interest in that as far as I figure. So anyway, let's have a listen to the sound demo now. Thanks for watching the build report, and that's it. Cheers.